Welcome back. You are tuned into the Labor Forum here at WRG 89.3 FM in Atlanta. And as I said, I'm really looking forward to this interview that we have with our two guests in the studio because they also have an action tomorrow that we want to let our listeners know about. So if you're watching, you can see that we have two gentlemen here. We have Joe Hinely. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
And Joe is with, he's a representative of the International Union of Operating Engineers here in Atlanta. And then we have next to him, we have Jackie Turner. Jackie was, hi Joe.
Hello,
Jackie.
everybody.
And so Jackie worked up until this past Tuesday at the CDC for this company called Four Seasons International. And so many of us probably have never heard of that organization. We certainly have heard of the Centers for Disease Control. And this is a critical facility. And so I'm going to ask Jackie to tell us what exactly does Four Seasons International do at the complex that is called the CDC here in Atlanta.
Yes, Four Seasons Environmental.
Oh, I said international,
Yes,
didn't I?
yes.
Pardon me, environmental.
Four Seasons provides all the maintenance to all of the buildings on location as far as plumbing, electrical, HVAC, which is heating and air conditioning, lawn and care, and various other maintenance tasks for the buildings.
So in other words, the CDC subcontracts out to Four Seasons Environmental
Right,
to do all this work.
that's correct.
So you are not considered direct employees of the CDC. You
Right.
are employees of this other company.
Yes, Four Seasons.
All right. So now Four Seasons, is this a big outfit? Do they have contracts elsewhere?
It's not a huge outfit. They do have other contracts in Ohio, Florida, Georgia. They've also got the USDA out in Athens, but it's not huge. They're small enough to be considered a small business.
And so let's talk about your issue, because at some point last year, the workers out employed by Four Seasons Environmental organized for a union election and won. Can you talk about that a little bit, Jackie?
Yes, as far as working conditions at the CDC, we felt that they can be improved a lot. We had a lot of complaints. I mean, a lot of people came to me, and as well as myself, complaining about the way we've been treated. As far as safety issues, no pay raises that I can think of in 10 years. The only increases we got was the wage determination went up. No personal days, no sick days, and that's a place where you can get sick.
As a place where nobody who's sick should call.
Right. There's a lot of favoritism and a lot of things that we just got fed up with.
All right, so let's get this clear. So there's about 180 or so employees.
There were 187 the day of the election, February 19th last year.
So that's last year. Y'all hold this election, and that's tough. It's tough to get that far.
Right.
And you win big time. Tell us what happened next.
Well, immediately following the election, the vice president of the company sent out a letter to all the employees saying that they would bargain in good faith and get back to serving their client, the CDC. 3 days later, they filed objections to the election with the NLRB.
That's National Labor Relations Board.
Yes, they got them some high-priced lawyers, and they came up with 12 or so objections. So we had a hearing with the labor board. We were totally victorious. The region ruled in our favor on all 12 objections. Didn't find merit with any of the objections. Well, they weren't happy with that, so they appealed to the DC board. The DC board agreed with the region. We did everything right. It was a fair election. They need to bargain. October the 29th of 15, we were certified by the board. They still refused to recognize Local 926 as the bargaining agent. So they're just throwing money at it, sounds like. You know, that we're waiting for a summary judgment now. The board has the region has requested that the DC board give summary judgment and order them to bargain, and we're waiting on that to come down next.
Do they recognize the union anywhere else on any other property?
Yes, they have contracts in Ohio, and one in Savannah, where they're with the operating engineers down there. So,
Well, let me ask Jackie a little bit more about working conditions, because when you drive by the Centers for Disease Control, I mean, it's a pretty spectacular set of buildings. It's a big complex, there's all kinds of grounds, there's all kinds of glass and shiny new buildings. And so one would think that the Centers for Disease Control themselves would be very much inclined to want really a good working atmosphere and condition for the people that are keeping this building, all these buildings, running not just up to par, but running at above all expectations. So what is it that, you said that there was unsafe working conditions, you said you didn't get raises. Would you mind telling our listeners a little bit more about these safety issues and about the pay? Because you all are very skilled, you have to have skill to keep these buildings operating so that the temperature stays right for this research. I mean, all these things, that the air quality, nothing escapes, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, let's start with safety. I can give you a small example. These laboratories have entry requirements that's telling you what you're supposed to put on before you go inside the labs. It's called PPE entry requirements. You might have to put on footies, gloves, rubber gloves, face masks, or whatever. It'll tell you what you need to put on, but we're not provided with those items to go inside the labs to do work or either to check, make sure everything's working properly, like no water leaks. And a good example is I asked the the Four Seasons safety engineer, why is it that we don't have these things that go into the labs? And the FSC safety director told me that the signs were for emergency personnel only. We can go in there without it. But that didn't make any sense to me. So I shot an email to OSHA, and they sent me an email back saying that, no, you're supposed to have PPE on it, and the company's supposed to provide you with all the right equipment to go in there. But they disregard that and make people go in the labs anyway without proper equipment to protect themselves.
Let's get to wages, because the wages is a big deal. You mentioned that you don't have paid sick days. Again, we go, wow. There are a variety of other things that every worker should have. So talk to us a little bit more about those things.
Wages, well, like I said, I've been there, March would have been 10 years. I don't remember a raise. I just remember wage increases from the wage determination board.
Explain that. Most people don't know what a wage determination board is.
Well, that's the minimum amount that the contractor has to pay us.
Oh, so in other words, when
Yeah,
they
least pay
submit a bid to the
Right.
CDC, there's some minimums that are
Right,
in
that
there.
you at least have to pay that, so we get the minimum, in other words.
So I think Joe told me that some people who work for Four Seasons only make $12 an hour.
Those are the landscapers, and to me, that's one of the hardest jobs to do, especially when it's 100 degrees outside.
And
So-
the skilled trades folks, like HVAC and plumbers and other people who really have to know what they're doing at a CDC building. I want to keep saying that, at a CDC.
We don't want anything to go wrong at the CDC
building. That nobody gets paid over $20.
No, they, $23, somewhere
23.
around there.
Well, that I hope listeners out there, you all just shaking your head because this is both not right for the workers, but I also want to say that from my own point of view, this is not right for an institution like the Centers for Disease Control. All right, so now you have, let's go back to this. you have had a union election, the vast majority vote for it. The company stalls, and here we are, it's January 2016, and Joe, you described some things called unfair labor practices, other charges that have been filed against this company. Could you describe what some of these unfair labor practices are?
Sure. Before the election, we had unfair labor practices for coercing employees to not vote for the union, creating impression of surveillance at some of the meetings.
Wait, hold up. What do you mean?
They made the employees feel like they were being surveilled if they came to the union hall and participated in a meeting, organizing
There
meeting.
was somebody out there with a camera?
They made them think that.
Oh,
They made them.
whether it was true or not.
Correct. Correct. They made them think that. After the election, it's been the same thing. Surveillance, threats. They've promised some employees benefits, and they've promised other employees they might use, or threatened other employees that they could lose benefits. A lot of people have been laid off or fired since the election, some under questionable circumstances for things that have, been going on for years, but now that it's known they're a union supporter, all of a sudden, oh, well, we're gonna fire you for that now. And on top of all of it, they just won't recognize the union. We won the election, fair and square, we dotted our I's, crossed our T's, and we're not gonna talk to you, we're gonna ignore you. And all these workers, 187 people out there, they fought really hard. They did their job, they played by the rules, and they still can't get their bargaining, their place at the table. Their voice is still not heard. And it's really not fair.
Can we go to the issue of dignity? There are some things that don't cost management anything. I mean, just to have a fair process when you have a problem, like in a grievance situation. What happens now without the union in terms of what happened to you, and what recourse do people have if they have a problem with management?
Well, you have a problem with management. Four Seasons has a EEO person to talk to that represents and knows the laws with the EEOC, supposedly. But that person is the vice president of the company. So he is the juror and the judge.
And the
And the
executioner.
And executioner.
In your
In my
case.
case, yes.
The other question I had about this contract is worth $26 million per year, is that right? To the CDC? They pay that much to Four Seasons.
Best we can figure out, we FOIA'd for the contract over a year ago, and we still haven't gotten our FOIA answered, so the CDC's not helping us at all with this.
Oh, that was my question. What is the relationship between the management of CDC and Four Seasons? They're just like hand in glove working together?
Yes, well, it would appear that way. We've filed 19 FOIAs in the last year. And
Can you say what that is?
Freedom of Information Act request for various documents. They've responded to 3.
This is the CDC responding.
Yes.
And this is a government agency. The Center for Disease Control is a federal government agency that's refusing to give you information that you need, that's you have a right to.
That's it in a nutshell. And we're not the only ones. I started looking, Googling, Google's great. And we're not the only ones that are not getting the information. It seems like they have a problem with everybody, but we are by far, they're taking longer with us than anybody else. I don't think they want the union in there. I really don't. I don't know, but they're not helping.
It appears that way, huh?
It would appear that way.
So, you told us when you came into the studio that you got fired this past Tuesday after almost 10 years. You want to tell our listeners a little bit about this?
Yeah, that was the day after Martin Luther King holiday. The vice president personally came to me and told me that I'm no longer needed because I was on permanent restriction from a job injury. So he told me that I was no longer needed and they didn't have anything for me. But the thing about it, I've been doing the same job for the last 4 or 5 years. No lifting. Basically what I do is monitor the BAS computer, build an automated system where I can control everything, and it tells me everything that's going on with the building. And that doesn't take lifting to do. I just use a mouse. And before that, I used to just walk the building at nighttime to make sure there were no water leaks or no fires or whatever. And occasionally some small preventive maintenance tasks that I had to do. And that just consists of having a piece of paper going and do some checkoffs. So he came and told me he had nothing for permanent restriction, but I couldn't understand that because I've been basically doing the same thing.
And so you see this as part of a pattern of what's been happening to people who've been active with the union?
Yeah, it sure appears that way. But I don't know what's going in their mind, you know, but it sure appears that way to me.
Now, I'm no expert on the disability, Americans with Disability Act, but I also thought that companies really had to make a genuine effort.
Reasonable accommodation, that's the term that management is required to provide in order for someone to be able to continue to work.
So what's unreasonable about keeping Jackie?
Doing a job he's been doing
for
for
5 years.
Right. It's just their way of just getting rid of me. And the thing about it, the vice president smiled at me like I finally got you. And you know, I just smiled back at him and said, okay, this is not over with yet. And I'm sure that things are going to work out great for me and the company. The employees at the company, sorry.
We're gonna keep fighting for them, we're not giving up, that's for sure.
Let's talk a little bit again about this difficulty, because we've had many workers on the program who work for companies that are subcontracted by bigger outfits. It can be Sodexo or Aramark, you know, at universities. There's just a whole variety. It can be bus drivers, you know, who are subcontracted out, who shuttle the students around at Georgia State or elsewhere. And it always seems as though the entity that gives out the contract claims that it has no responsibility, has nothing to do with the working conditions, etc., of their subcontractor. So, and this is really hard for all of us, I think, to swallow, because when they give the contract out, they know what the dollar amount is. And so they obviously know that either that isn't enough to pay people a living wage and provide any benefits, or it means they skimp on safety gear or something like that. So this idea that they don't have any responsibility is difficult. Now, I know that you all have some information on your website and a letter and some. Joe, do you want to talk about how our listeners can be supportive of these workers who work for Four Seasons Environmental out at the CDC?
Sure, tomorrow we're going to have a demonstration, an informational rally, if you will, at the front main gate on Clifton Road. It's going to be from 3:30 to 5:30. We're asking people that if they want to, they can park in the parking deck behind the restaurants, or if you want to park at the Kroger up at Briarcliff in Clifton, we're going to have a couple of shuttles taking people from that parking area down to the front gate. We've contacted DeKalb County, and everything is good to go there. And if you would like to come out and show your support for the workers at Four Seasons, we would love for you to do that also. We've got a Facebook page, IUOE 926 Organizing, and there are links there to tell you all about the event if you want to go there and check it out.
And is there a petition or some letter or some message that listeners could, you know, let both the CDC and Four Seasons know that this isn't sitting right with other working people, that people should get treated so rotten?
Absolutely. We've got the links for that on our Facebook page also.
Can you say it one more time and slower?
It's IUOE 926 organizing.
Standing for International Union of Operating Engineers, 926.
I had a question, I want to get back to this in terms of the safety of the public as a whole. The sensitivity of the material and the labs and everything that's being worked on is critical. Isn't that stuff temperature sensitive? And so you want the best people maintaining the quality of the air and everything, just for the safety not only of the workers but also of all of us out here in the community. Is that right?
Yeah, of course. It took me quite a while to learn that job because there's so much into it as far as the equipment, knowing what to do, how much pressure goes into the room versus going out. It's really a tough job, but I've been there, like I said, 10 years, and I've trained people now when they come in on different shifts on the responsibility and how serious it is to maintain the equipment in labs, and what to do and what not to do, who to call, who not to call, because a lot of things go on sometimes. As far as going into the labs, we used to have uniforms where we could not wear these uniforms at home. You would get fired if you was caught wearing them at home. But now they said that, hey, bring your own uniforms in and wash your own uniforms. So it's a possibility that you can be tracking or taking something to your families or out into the public. And that's on the safety issue right there.
You know, Paul, I agree with you 100%. There are certain situations you don't want the lowest bidder. You don't want your brain surgeon to be the lowest bidder, and you don't want the guys at the CDC to be the lowest bidder. You want the best money can buy.
Absolutely.
And yeah, you would think the CDC would want that also.
Right.
All right, so let's just repeat that information one more time. It's tomorrow, that's the 26th of January.
From 3:30 to 5:30, and parking at the Kroger at Briarcliff in Clifton. And we'll have a couple of shuttles taking people down toward the front gate of the CDC, 1600 Clifton Road. And we hope if everybody wants to come give us a hand and show support, we'd love to see you.
Okay, so the idea is this like a moving picket line or a rally?
Rally, yes ma'am, it's a rally.
So there'll be speakers from,
We've asked a number of state reps to come out and give us a hand, and also a number of news outlets. So
and should people bring their own signs, or are you gonna have them?
if you've got some you want to bring, by all means bring them, and if not, we'll have some.
All right, I wanna thank you both very much. I know Paul and I, our eyes are wide open on this interview. And I assume that anybody who was listening is also got to be quite concerned. So folks, you were listening to Joe Hinely and Jackie Turner. And they both are with the Operating Engineers Local 926 here in Atlanta and at the CDC. All right, thank you all, and we will be back again next Monday with another terrific program. I want to thank Christopher, our engineer, Ozzy, our videographer, and remind you again that we have all these ways for you and us to communicate. That includes our website, our Facebook page, our Twitter, and of course Gmail if you want to contact us about ideas that you have for this program. This is Diane Mathewitz saying goodbye for today.